The things that are most meaningful in life are not easy, but it definitely has been a journey that I've loved. And I think that's what makes it feel easier. You're your biggest cheerleader, right? So you just have to fake it till you make it and have the confidence. Part of my job is to really consider my clients in very deep and personal ways that they don't even consider themselves, to create spaces that they can feel the most relaxed and comfortable. Figure out what you're best at and try and focus on that. You know, when you get on the wrong train, make sure to get off at the next stop. There's been a lot of things that have happened in life. I've worked really hard. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I've always loved what I do. Working with people and making people's homes just, their most special, treasured place brings me happiness. If you're loving what you do, your fulfillment in life and joy, no matter what you have going on, is going to be very different. And I feel fortunate to have found that at an early age.
My guest today is Paisley Gamble. Paisley has been dreaming of homes since she was 7 and making her mark on the design world as a luxury interior designer for the last 19 years. With an eye for detail and a heart for storytelling, Paisley redefines luxury interior design, one unforgettable space at a time. She has a curiosity and appreciation for diverse cultures, reminding us that the most beautiful spaces are those that celebrate the rich tapestry of the human experience. As a luxury interior designer, she is known for blending cultural influences and timeless elegance from the Gold Coast of Australia to Mexico. Her work reflects a deep appreciation for diverse cultures and individual preferences, resulting in immersive spaces that evoke harmony and emotion. Paisley and the homes she designs have been featured on HGTV. She has appeared on Reno Wars on A&E, and the winner of Atlanta Home Improvements magazine's Makeover of the Month, and featured in Dwell for the Hernandez Project, a 10,000 square foot home in Colombia, South America, which launched Paisley Gamble Interior Designs international business. In today's podcast, I'm going to be speaking to Paisley about her story, how she got started and got to be where she is today. We're going to discuss entrepreneurship, building your own company, branding, and being a woman in business, all in the spirit of designing a life you love. Welcome to my show, Paisley.
Thank you. Wow, that was so generous. Thank you. It's so nice to chat with you, and I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. Tell me from 7 how you got to be where you are today, because the home's fantastic. The Hernandez Project. Come on.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Yes, thank you. It's one of those things where I feel like when you are young, everyone asks you what you want to do, what you think you want to do. And I was at 7 years old, loving color, fabrics, design books. My parents would give me interior design books for Christmas instead of like toys. That was what I wanted. And so at an early age, I just knew I wanted to be an interior designer. I didn't know how that was obviously going to unfold. And at such a young age, you don't really know if that's going to happen. Fast forward till I was about 18. School really wasn't for me. It was something that was never something I struggled with, actually. And my dad just said, why don't you just give interior design a shot? You don't have to have a formal education, and you can really, explore the industry and see if it works for you. So I interviewed with a firm, a high-end furniture retailer, and they hired me on the spot and loved the room that I designed for them. And that sort of launched my career. So I think it was, being so young, pursuing something that I had an interest in, and having parents that were supportive of that really just gave me the comfortability to kind of go out on a limb. And I thought, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, I can always pivot, right? And do something different because I am so young.
Right. And was it easy?
Yeah, nothing's easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that are most, I would say, meaningful in life are not easy, but it definitely has been a journey that I've loved. And I think that's what makes it feel easier. So I know, your audience is looking for advice when they're maybe getting into new fields or new industries. And one thing I can say to someone maybe looking to step into a career like this, or that's younger and considering school versus considering not going to school, is you're your biggest cheerleader, right? So you just have to fake it till you make it and have the confidence
I
that,
love that one. Fake it till you
yeah,
make it. Yeah.
I just, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew that I could figure it out. And that was important to me. And I had so many people, that designers that were older, and they were making fun of my designs or saying, you can't do that. It was really unkind. And
How
there
do
were
you deal
times
with that?
I
what
did
did
cry.
you, you cried?
Yeah, when I was young,
Um,
right? I was like 18, 19, 20 years old and trying to design spaces that I could see in my head to execute those in a physical, tangible format. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know necessarily how to get there. And so I would hire, for instance, there's one quick scenario I remember where I was designing curtains that needed to hang a certain way. And I just remember this older designer, I was probably 20 and she was probably 65. And she was like, "You can't do that. That's not how it works. This is not how things hang." And I just said, "Watch me." And
nice.
I went to my seamstress and I said, "This is like the way I'm trying to figure it out. Can you create a loop that hangs, the curtain this way?" And she was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And I did it. It was a beautiful installation. Yeah,
As long as the client likes it, right?
that's what matters. I think, I actually have a personal assistant, and she's younger and she's just starting out. She's also in school, but she said to me when, she first started working with me, she's like, what should I be doing or not doing? And I just told her, you said, you have to just try, because you have to realize that if someone's hiring you or working with you, it's because you can do something better than what they can do. That's
Hmm.
that's the only point, right? Maybe you're not the best in the world, but you can do better, and that's why they're hiring you.
They want you, not the other person. Otherwise, they would have hired the other person.
Right. Yeah.
So
And a
you
lot of
give them your best, because otherwise, it's your shot, right?
totally. And in these creative industries, I mean, I'm sure other industries, but in these creative industries, you really grow as a creative person. So the designer I am today, and the rooms that I executed when I was 20, they were nice and they were great, but also my palette and my expertise and my world travels and all the things that influence my inspiration were not curated yet, right? So every design I did then turned out well and my clients were super happy, but I've evolved so much now that I would look back at my 20-year-old designs and say, "Oh, like she's so cute, what she did then."
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a songwriter. We look back at our old albums and we're like, don't listen to our old stuff. Like any of your bands will tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the beauty about art though, is it's all really subjective, right?
Hmm. So I like how you, in terms of branding, some people, they make it too difficult. The
Mm.
name of your company is Paisley Design, Paisley Design, Paisley Gamble, Paisley
Yeah,
Gamble. Your
yeah,
name, basically
yeah.
your name. That simple.
Right. It is, yeah, it is helpful. I really struggled with, do I make it something unique? Do I call it something interesting? And I think at the end of the day, I just came back to it is me and what I'm trying to create for people. And my name, fortunately, also is a pattern, which is a recognizable pattern. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but the I'm sure you have in your closet a tie or socks or a bandana that has like a little squiggly pattern
Hmm.
on it, and that's actually a paisley, is what it's called. It's a paisley
Oh,
pattern.
okay.
So
Well,
very
you knew that because
convenient.
you're a designer too.
I did, yeah.
You did know that.
And people ask me, they're like, "Is this your stage name?" No, it's not. It is my real birth name, and it fortunately fit into my career as well. So,
So
so
how did
yes,
you go off into building your own company? Well,
mm,
tell me when you started, you were working for that woman you mentioned that didn't like the curtains.
yes, yes. So I started right, and I actually started in a couple different design firms, and I think I was about 20. I was 21, and I just noticed that I was getting so many referrals. The company I was working for nicknamed me the referral queen, and so I just thought, okay, I'm doing this for this company and I'm liking it, but you're not necessarily making the best money because you're working for a company and you're making them money. And it almost felt like I had more business than I could deal with in referrals. But yet everybody wanted to work with me. So I just said, you know what? I am going to give this a shot. I'm going to go out on my own. I'm going to charge, much lower than what a normal designer would, sort of an entry fee, even though I had had a couple of years under my belt at that stage to just see if it would work and if I could, do it on my own. And I actually had a pair of brothers that were my first independent clients. And they were both doctors. And they said, you know what? We both have these houses. We don't have wives. We have girlfriends, but we don't want them doing, our houses. And so can you come in and, zhuzh it up and make it beautiful? And those were my first clients, and it just took off from there. They were super connected, and really, I
Nice.
was really grateful for their referrals. Yeah.
So in terms of faking it to make it,
Mhm.
you you had you um what I'm trying to think of is I'm putting myself in your shoes. Like, can I make them happy? Like, what if I don't make them happy?
Mhm.
Well, they liked you, they found you, and what's the worst thing that can happen? They tell you they don't, and then you change it, right? You've got plenty of
Exactly.
ideas in your head.
Right. Yes, I think that's right. I think you're focusing on when you are your own boss, right? And you go out on your own and you have your own business and you are taking all of these risks. Again, if you're not your biggest supporter, um, there's a lot of psychology behind all of this, right? You have to be your biggest cheerleader, and what we believe in our thoughts become reality. And
Mhm.
so I think I just always felt like if someone's not happy or someone doesn't like a color, or, I always made this very open form of communication with clients that it's not about me, it's about them. And my role is to not impose my designs or my preferences on them. I'm truly trying to provide them, the most cozy, loving, exciting home that they can live. And whatever that is for their best life, I want to execute that. And so I'm never offended if they don't like something.
It's a great way
And
to set it up. Don't wait for them to say they don't like it. Let them know up
yeah,
front. Help me out. Like, help me. I want to
exactly.
do
Help me
good for
help
you.
you.
Yeah, help me help
Help
you.
me help you.
And then that way, if they don't say anything, because you don't want them to not like it
Hmm.
and not tell you because they think you're great and we should like what she does because she's awesome. Um, and they didn't know, hey, if you just told me I had two other ideas in my head, right? And I
Right,
wasn't sure, and I
right.
got two more for you, right?
Yeah. And I kind of have you know, spun it in the way of like, hey, look, I'm great at this, but I'm not a mind reader, right? So I, need full transparency, need full communication. I'm going to ask you a lot of hard questions. I'm going to look in your closet and see what you wear. You know, did you have a grandma that had the ugliest chartreuse green sofa that you can't stand and now you hate the color green? It's those things really do impact people and how
Right.
they perceive the world and live in their space at home. And I think for me, the journey has always been to sort of like what we're talking about today, to really, live at home in a way that you love and experience life in a way that you love. And I read a quote recently that said that consideration is the biggest act of love. And so I feel like part of my job is to really consider my clients in very deep and personal ways that they don't even consider themselves, to
Mm.
create spaces that they can feel the most um, relaxed and
Your
comfortable.
designs are amazing. I was blown away.
Thank you.
And
Oh,
internationally too. That's
thank you.
kind of cool. So back to people trying to get started.
Yes.
Say they're working for somebody else
Hmm.
and they start to get enough referrals, or maybe they just need one and they're like, I'm going to take this. What advice do you have for them? You give your notice. I guess you need an office. I don't know. How do you make the transition?
Right. How do you make the transition? It's probably easier these days because
Hmm.
when I started out on my own, we didn't have Google. That's how old I am. So Everything was very
You
tangible,
don't look
but
that old, by the way.
thank you.
I wouldn't have guessed Google wasn't around, but
It wasn't around. I know, shocking.
so cell phones too, then.
Yeah, we had cell phones, but we didn't have all the access and the apps. And so I would physically carry like fabric books to clients' houses and be
Mm,
like, I'm envisioning this sofa here with my hands and a tape measure. We
yeah.
didn't have, these render capabilities and everything. So to answer your question, what would be the next step for somebody trying to go out on their own right now? I would really, um, tell them to kind of take a look at what are they best at, right? There's lots of different formats in design. You can be great at rendering, you can be great at execution. Some designers do it all, and some designers just specialize in paint consultations. And so I would figure out what you're best at and try and focus on that to be able to say, okay, I can work from home. We've got all these filters and things like that, and remote consultations you can do these days, fortunately. And so find what you do best, find who your audience is, and a fair amount to charge that people will feel like you're not ripping them off, because you're new, but you're also taking care of yourself and charging
Also, if
what
you
is
don't
maybe
charge enough, people think you're not very good. If
true.
you
Yes,
undercut it so far, they think you're desperate and you can't be that great. Otherwise, you
right.
wouldn't be desperate.
Right. There are all these medium averages of what interior designs make in the country, and I really feel like they can range just depending on what state you live in and the net worth of people in those areas. And um,
Keep in
but
mind, if you're going out on your own and your name is your brand, that's
Mhm.
what they're paying for. They can't get it
Yeah,
anywhere else. Don't
right.
try to compete with everybody else doing the same thing at the same price. Like, why would you do that? You can go back to the company you were working at, right?
Absolutely. Yes. So you are your biggest asset, and again, people are really pursuing you for what you do best. And so I think also there's many different facets and assets to design. And I think that that's maybe not known in the industry, right? So everyone thinks we make these beautiful rooms and spaces, but they don't realize that there's a lot of business that goes into it and a lot of communication skills. And so I would also say if you're going out on your own and maybe you are amazing at interior design, but like your communication skills are lacking. Read books, get on the internet, read articles. I also use an app called Uptime. I don't know if you know about that.
Mm-mm.
But it's a great app that, I mean, I obviously am busy. I have a 3-year-old, there's a lot going on. So I don't have time to read like 500-page books. So I use Uptime, which condenses books and like the meat of information into footnotes. And it's a 10 to 15-minute read, depending on the
Mm.
book. And so there's a lot of business books on there that you can learn from. And I would certainly say, to just also, what do I want to say? Upscale your other assets that maybe are lacking and learn more so that you can come out of the gates strongly. Mistakes are great. You can learn from mistakes, right? That's the best
Mm-hmm.
lesson in life is when we make mistakes and to pivot. I just saw another quote. I love quotes, obviously, but I just saw another quote that said, when you get on the wrong train, make sure to get off at the next stop if
Mm.
you know you're on the wrong train because it's a longer train ride back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would just say, really be aware, having self-awareness and understanding what you need to work on to grow so that you can launch yourself forward and put your best foot forward quickly.
And what about women in business specifically? You sound like you're doing great. I don't see the difference between being a man. A lot of times I'm like, it's shocking to me when people explain, like, you don't know, or they tell me about, how the women make less pay and how they get treated. I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't understand that. Since you have your own brand and people like your designs, is it as big of issue if they like you and they like what you do?
Gosh, it's hard because I've only been in my industry. This has been my entire career. I do think that in general, there's maybe been an undervalue of women over the years. But in my industry specifically, I'm a creative, right? So I think we are seen a little bit less gender specific.
Hmm.
And I have a favorite artist. Her name's Ashley Longshore. I'll tag her maybe later, but she has this saying, she who toots her own horn controls the volume. And I love that because I feel like, it really just like you are in control of how much you make, who respects you, who doesn't respect you. And you really control the volume of your life and your success. And when that sits in and you acknowledge that,
Hmm.
it gives you ownership and accountability, right? To saying, you know what? I don't like the way these people are treating me, or I don't like, how much I'm making, or this isn't a good fit for me. And then giving you the control to step back and remove yourself if it's not working for you.
Sounds like wonderful. Like I would never want to work for somebody else again. But in my head, though, I have to put myself in the shoes of most people.
Mhm.
You get out of school, you have to work for somebody else, right?
Generally, yes.
So you've got to land that first job
Yeah.
and you've got to love it and be good at it enough to where somebody notices you, basically, right? And they ask for you specifically, is that the strategy?
I would say learning from somebody, if you're going to school, absolutely, it would be in your best interest when you get out to learn from somebody because there, like I said before, there are so many different things to this industry that school doesn't even prepare you for. I have a
Hmm.
lot of friends that are interior designers and they have beautiful educations and they do great designs, but they almost quit the industry because school didn't prep them for communication skills or business skills as well as they needed when they got into the industry. So,
Hmm.
they learned how to render and scale and color balance, but they didn't learn a lot of the other facets to the industry. So I think if you're needing to start out before you go on your own, if you're needing to start out, then find somebody that you can work for, learn from, grow from, and make sure you're asking the right questions. And you're also really putting yourself in a position of here's where I am. I realize I'm starting out. I want to bring value to your company, whoever you are. And I want to learn from you and figure out what your personal goals are. Maybe you want to stay with that person and grow for years and you don't really want to go out on your own. And I would also say that when you're younger, things change, right? Like your dreams and desires in life can really pivot and turn for many different reasons.
Hmm.
And so being open to what that looks like for yourself. But I would say working for someone and learning from someone is a great start just to see how the rest of the industry is managed and if you like it.
Do you
I, I'm
ever
also
have, yeah.
I was just going to say I am also really a big supporter of loving what you do, and I think that I've worked. There's been a lot of things that have happened in life. I've worked really hard. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I've always loved what I do, and that's brought a lot of joy in my life. And working with people and making people's homes just, their most special, treasured place brings me
Yeah.
happiness.
Nice.
So if you're loving what you do, your fulfillment in life and joy, no matter what you have going on, is going to be um, very
Hmm.
different. And I feel fortunate to have found that at an early age.
Now, you probably still have those difficult clients, though, right? Who, no matter what you do, you can't make them happy because they're not happy.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are definitely out there. They are few and far between because I do know how to see the yellow and the orange and the red
Mm.
flags coming. And I would say that's something else that you should, if you're considering getting into this industry or you're in the industry and you're really looking for good fits, right? In order to design for someone, you also have to really feel like it's a good enmeshment of your personalities and understanding can you provide to them what they're really needing and wanting. And there are red flags and there are people that are, like you said, just unhappy with themselves and that kind of carries into sometimes business relationships. But I have no problem with saying to a client that I don't think it's a good fit, or maybe we've gotten into it and we're realizing there's some things here that are maybe not going to be a good long-term fit.
Hmm.
And I've had to have a few of those conversations, and
It's okay to say no. It's your
yeah,
company, it's your brand.
it's a
And
great yeah. It's important.
if you're starting out, yeah, because it could destroy you, take your energy out, your time, your energy, your
Absolutely,
motivation.
yeah. And back to your point of reputation and when you go out on your own or you're just in this society because we are so digital and everything's so tangible, if you if someone doesn't like you or something happens or you don't handle a situation well, unfortunately, there is the ability very quickly to misrepresent you
Yeah.
online or to say
Right.
something that's inaccurate or to say something that is accurate that maybe you did wrong and you don't want other people to know. And so I've always been really, really cautious of that. I'm thankful that I have a very good reputation.
I like the yellow flag kind of thing. If you
Yeah.
go to start working with them and no matter what you do, they're not happy. And then they give you a bad review, no matter what you do, you're just killing yourself, wasting your time. It's better. I like the way you phrased it. Learn an elegant way. It could be, I can't take on any more clients right
Hmm.
now. And
Hmm.
after looking at what you wanted, I can't do it. So here's a referral.
Exactly.
And then try not to, don't refer them to your best friend in another design company. Don't,
Right.
uh, just say, no,
Exactly.
I don't have a referral for you.
Yeah. That's a skill set, right? It's a skill set to be able to say no and to draw boundaries and to know what's best for your future. And in this kind of industry, those we call them vampires, right? Like they're
Yeah.
vampires. They suck the life out of you. And you're already in a really emotional state with them, right? You're in their most intimate lives. So
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times clients become dear friends. And I've, had clients for 10, 15 years now that I've done 3 and 4 or 5 houses for because they kind of collect me as family. And so, I know
Yeah.
their marriage issues. I know their finances. I know, all these things and they trust me with that, which I appreciate immensely and it's very valuable to me. But at the same time, getting that enmeshed with someone that's maybe not a good fit or could really drag you down and be a vampire and just a soul sucker.
Hmm.
Um, no matter what price, right? Like even if they're like, I'll pay you $1 million, it's just not worth it.
And if you're working with somebody like that, then it's taking your time away from working with a better client that would give you a great view and be really happy and make your life happier and you'd be more excited. Your time is valuable. And if you're working with somebody you don't like, you can't take on a new client that would be
Right.
better for everybody. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I think there's this energetic sort of universal Murphy's Law where, what you put out there, you attract. And so if you're putting out there, this is my ideal client, this is who I'm looking to work with, or if you find that ideal client and you say, hey, do you have friends?
Hmm.
Do you know anybody doing a renovation? Do you know anybody, who might be building another home and asking for those referrals from the people that
Hmm.
you already have good relationships with? That I feel like is the best future client.
Hmm. So if you're starting out, tell me what you think about this, Paisley. You're starting out, at first my thought would be, I'm going to take anything I can get, like Pottery
Mhm.
Barn. And instead, you've got to think, I like, you'll probably have a saying for this, Paisley, a
I
quote.
probably do.
Like, instead, I'm attracting the most perfect, wonderful client. And I just got to wait a moment. It's coming tomorrow, or someone's
Yeah,
going to call me and wait for it. Not start big.
sure.
Good
Yeah,
attitude. Yeah.
I think you're right. And I can be honest with you and say that I didn't have that complete mindset when I first
Mm,
started. I've grown into that almost 20 years later. And I realized that that is what produces the best business, the best version of me, the best version for my clients.
yeah.
But I would highly recommend to sort of manifest, right?
Hmm.
Ask what you are looking for, ask the universe, ask the clients that you are working with that are good fits and really just put it out there what you need and want and it will come to you. And it's sort of like, okay, I'm going to relate it to a bad relationship. It's
It's
not
a
a quote, but
relationship. Sure.
yeah, it's like if you're in a relationship or you're about to get into a relationship where you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if this is the right thing or the right fit or if this is the right idea and you just want to be loved or you just want attention, like that is not good to get into that relationship. It's the same thing with, interior design, right? You don't want to get into a relationship with a client where they're going to pay you and it's just you're losing money on the
Yeah.
time you're spending. So, yeah, just
You want to put the intention of your creativity and the design in the space and making them have a comfortable space ahead of the money. If you
yeah.
just, the money's, you need the money, you set the price, that's a given. But if you, I need a job out of school,
Hmm.
etc., it's not the the way to approach it.
Yeah, I have another suggestion as well. I think that there are a lot of other occupations in the interior design field where you can go work for a showroom for, hourly or however I don't know how they pay these days, but you could go work for a showroom, get some experience, get some tangible feet on the ground interior design experience, and then do a couple of clients on the side or on your weekends or in the evenings. So maybe you have a little bit of a financial support from
Mm-hmm.
something that isn't client focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then you really can work with who you want to work with while you're building your side business.
You probably have to want your own business though. Look, would some people might just be fine working for somebody else, maybe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I come from entrepreneurs. And so my family was very entrepreneurial. And I really haven't ever seen myself working for somebody. And so now that
Yeah.
that's just comes natural to me. But some people love, having a boss and working for other people. And I think that's wonderful. And we need those people, right? Like I have a staff and I need them to like working for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I know you're real busy. You're designing homes all over the world and 10,000
Mhm.
square foot homes. And I don't know how many assistants you have, but I think you probably need them all. Any last tips, ideas, stories, inspirational quotes?
Inspirational quotes. Oh, I probably could go on all day. They're in my Instagram saved files. Um, I think at the end of the day, the industry is a really amazing industry to be in. I just did a blurb recently about how people are afraid that AI is going to start impacting interior designers' jobs. And I would just say if you're starting to get into the industry, AI is present in our industry at this stage, and really just be mindful of that and embrace it because it's
I have
here.
a
It's not
podcast episode on AI.
to you.
It
Awesome.
was posted and it was from a senior, a guy that's like deep in the AI business, like the big data sets, a serious
Wow.
scientist.
Wow.
And it actually it's twisted on its head. People think they're panicky about AI. And I had a doctor on a different show about AI in
Mm,
hospitals. So people panic. Well, of course, if you go AI, what's a good color that goes with yellow? It's going to give you the color.
right.
That's what it does. But as a designer, that's not what they're paying you for. They could do that
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not taking your job away, it's helping you. Don't panic about AI. There's so much it's based on fear because people don't understand how it works.
Right.
It's just a super Google. But instead of having to ask Google 10 things and then you put them together, Google puts it together for you.
Yes. So my advice is don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Use it as tools for efficiency in your business.
Hmm.
Use it as beautiful tools to show imagery to clients. But I and we as designers bring a humanness to the industry
Yeah.
that a robot and an AI or an app can't do. And that
Yeah.
is why people hire us, is because I understand by looking into your eyes what you're saying to me,
Yeah.
no matter if you're saying the words or not. And so that's what I'm
Even
translating.
the senior, whatever you call him, expert, I can't remember his title. The guy
Hmm.
who, he's the
Yeah, the
AI
guys.
guy, big. He was like, no, because there's this term sentient AI, meaning
Mhm.
like a person with emotions. No, not in our lifetime. For
Yeah,
for example, the doctor said the same thing. You know, you could ask an AI Pacific question, but they don't know the patient like I do, the whole body,
mhm.
all the stuff. You can't program every variable into.
Right.
And then there's the feeling, especially in interior design. Like, how do I feel?
Yeah,
I don't know why I feel this way. And
right.
it's different feeling for every person, right? So you could design the same
Absolutely.
house, AI, the same house, and this person doesn't like it. And then AI can't tell you why.
Right.
And you're like,
Exactly.
but I used AI. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why.
exactly.
Like you
It's
said, Paisley, a tool.
a very interpersonal career. So I think yeah, so that's my last piece of advice is just
And what's next for Paisley Gamble
yeah.
International?
Thank you. we're expanding and growing and working in different states and different countries right now, which is really exciting. We've got some TV stuff in the works and some product lines. So,
What's
yeah,
products?
tile and pillows.
From from working in Mexico and other cultures, I bet the tile's really cool. I lived in Santa Fe for a while, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yes, yeah, they're the artists, artisans, and craftsmanship here is absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, so stay tuned. Maybe we'll circle back at some point and have another lovely chat.
The company's PaisleyGamble.com. On Instagram, they're Paisley Gamble Interiors. The
Mhm.
details are in my show notes. Paisley, thanks so much for being on my show. I know you're busy. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Continued success in everything you do.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. All right, we'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Bye
Bye.
bye.